Okay, guten Tag, Deutsch 2. Hier ist ein Video für euch über das Projekt Deutsches Design. Okay, so auf English, I'm going to go over where we are. Okay, we have basically one more week to really work on this project, and for some of you that means 2 classes, and for some of you that means 3. I'll say 3 classes for all of you, and then it's showtime. Then we have to present what we're doing and then have a little fun because it's the classes before the break. Okay, so up until now you've hopefully selected a design or something that you are going to have a look at and describe, right? And you know that you need 8 components of this thing. Okay, du musst wenigstens 8 Bestandteile beschreiben, 8 components. So you're describing 8 things about it. And you know that you're describing, okay, or you're saying, I'm going to go back up to here. All right, you're saying kind of what it is, something about it, some way to describe it. You're describing what it is not, okay? And you're describing what it has or doesn't have, okay? And then maybe you're even saying a verb about it, like what you do with it or what it does, all right? 8 things, and those are now 4 sentences, kind of 3 or 4 sentences about each one. All right, so that has a number of different reasons why we're doing that. You're going to practice with adjectives, you're going to practice with not and no, and you're going to practice with verbs. And those are verbs are something that we've been working on, so that's a review. Adjectives is pretty easy, and that's also kind of like review. And then the not thing can be somewhat new, depending on how much you've covered it before, how much we've covered it before. In German 1, we covered it for a project, actually. So at Smarts Mill and Eagle Ridge. Okay, so anyway. But it is not a written project. That's the thing. This is an oral project because we need an oral project right now, and we have the time for an oral project. And so what does that mean? I'll tell you what it doesn't mean. So here we go. Nicht, right? Es bedeutet nicht. It doesn't mean, okay, that we're going to read from a script into a camera or to the class, and then that's going to be it. Okay, it doesn't mean that because that is not learning German. All right, that's a written project that you just happen to read. What makes it an oral project is that you learn how to say it. And sometimes that means that you make the language simpler because it's hard to keep all the written nuances in your head that maybe you can look at and analyze when you write and think about as you write. It's what you can keep in your head that you can say. And so maybe you need to go way simpler with it, but that's okay because when you're speaking and trying to get someone to understand you when you're speaking, there are lots more tools you have at your disposal, like hand movements. You're gonna maybe even have a whiteboard and a stift, right? To make your point. And how do you know your point is made? It's when the information that you have is communicated. So that's another aspect of the project. Well, how do we know that the information is communicated? So I'm going to look at what you have, which is another reason why I need it sooner rather than later. And I'm going to come up with a set of images, which could be what you're describing with a variation or 2. And only one of them is going to be what you're actually describing. Okay, and that's a picture you're going to get me, picture of what you're describing. And then the class is going to pick out what you're describing based on what you say. So that means also that we're going to give the class some vocabulary list. We're going to maybe work with them on some vocabulary before you launch into your project. Okay, these are important words that you definitely need to know. And then see how much you've communicated based on what they tell you. All right, so that that makes the project a little bit maybe different or a little bit bigger than what I thought it was originally, what you thought it was originally, kind of exploring German design. But it makes it a lot more authentic, and that's really important. It'll get us in good shape for the CPAs and for the rest of the year, as a matter of fact. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Now, Frau Rogers, get to the point. That was important. Okay, we're speaking freely. All right. So these are the 4 kinds of sentences. And now you may be asking, okay, do I need to do each kind of sentence for the things that I'm describing? Or some things doesn't really make sense? Or, you know, how do I do this with the 3 or 4 sentence types and my 8 components? Well, the main thing is you need to get to 24 sentences. You can even have more than 24 sentences. And so whether I am open to any combination of sentences and components. Let me tell you, when I did this project just this weekend, I found components I didn't even think of that make a lot more sense to describe, to help describe the room so that people can identify it, or the thing. Okay, and then other ones that I had originally identified didn't seem to make sense anymore. So now let's look at the rubric. All right, so Option 1, right? 90 points. For 90 points, you need your 24 Sätze, your 24 sentences. All right. But now what do you need to do for 95 points or 100 points even? Basically, you need to make it more of a coherent story. Okay, so it says here, es gibt ein klarer Leitsatz und Kernsatz. There's a clear leading sentence and a topic sentence. What that means for this project is what you're describing is going to be an important sentence for you. And then basically, your sentences have to kind of stick together around a common theme. Like you're describing the living room, or you're describing the whatever it is you're describing. It can't be completely random items and things, or it shouldn't be anyway. And I hope that when I go through 2 examples for you in just like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, you will understand. It will make sense what it means to really get the 95 points. And then beyond that, you're using conjunctions and more complicated sentence structures like und and oder and denn and aber and zwischen. Okay. More complicated sentence structures. Maybe even weil, if we've talked about that. Okay. And that is grading it as a written project. You know what? That's grading it as a written project. But this is an oral project. That just occurred to me. This is the written rubric. What are we going to do for an oral project? Well, the oral project rubric is that you speak freely. You're not reading from your script. Okay, and that it's basically about the speed. So either there are a lot of pauses because you're thinking of words because you don't know them. And then, and then the maximum credit is when you clearly know your words that you're using and what you're describing. Maybe you have to pause a little bit to think. Or maybe you're trying to decide what words to use at the last minute. That's okay. But when you're pausing for 30 seconds it's like you're doing the project while you're in front of the class, then that, no. Okay. All right. And I will put that rubric in here. Okay. Sorry about that. It has to be a speaking project. Okay. Let's go back to, our sentences here. Now, these sentences, we're looking at whether you use ein or kein or nicht, right, with adjectives. And we've had exercises on those. We'll have a quiz on those. If you struggle with those, then that's something you need to work out. Another thing that you also really need to work out is how you learn vocabulary, because you need to know a good number of words in order to speak in front of the class, and you need to really know them. Um, and you're developing your own vocabulary list. Okay, so as you put together your sentences, you're going to come up with words, and you're putting them on this. Where am I here? Here we go. Projekt Deutsches Design, on this Projekt Deutsches Design Workshop, on this worksheet. And that worksheet, it's not an assignment, but it shows me that you're working on this and you've got all the right things you need to use these words. And I can help you with that. I can take a look at those words and say, oh, you really need this other word. Oops. So a lot of people already did this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome, awesome. Okay, it'll make you a forced copy. Copy it. I'm going to keep this on the screen while I'm doing this. All right, and there I've entered in some just random words so you can see what it works like. If this word is a noun, okay, like a person, place, or thing, like table, Tisch, then you want to put der, die, or das. So sofa, it's another thing, right? If it's a verb like sitzen, to sit, right? Then it doesn't have an article. You don't say the sitting, okay? Or sitting, a sit. No, okay. To sit, sitzen. Okay, and then you might have some phrases like against the window, gegen das Fenster. Okay, which you can come up with, you can look up, just put them in there and I will help you with them. Any kind of phrase, anything that's important for you that you really want to learn and practice. And then you can make this into a Quizlet. I can show you how to do that. And then practice them. Make sure that you know them before the project, before you're speaking. All right, so let me go back to the slideshow. All right, so I did this now as an example for two things. We've worked with this already a little bit. I did the Bauhaus Wohnzimmer. Okay, that's going to be one thing that I explained to you. I'm going to describe. And then I'm going to do an instrument because we have a few instruments out there and I thought, yeah, that'd be fun. Okay, welches Instrument ist das? So we got a few instruments. Actually, I'm going to work from this one. All right, you're going to have to guess which one I'm describing of those. And then also which one I'm describing of those. Now, with this one, you know, right? Okay, so as I was putting my sentences together, I used to play this in band for 7 years. Middle school and high school, I played this thing. They needed it. And the band director said, if you want to be in band, we really need someone to play this. So I said, oh, okay, sure. 7 years later, okay. Marching band. So let me start. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you. I drafted them on this little, sorry, there it is, notepad. All right, let's do the room first. All right. So I was thinking, okay, ich beschreibe ein Zimmer. I'm going to start with that. I'm describing a room. Guess what? That's like almost our topic sentence there. Okay, you can even ask, welches Zimmer ist das? All right, that's topic sentence. Easiest thing ever, okay? And as I was looking at the room, I'll say, okay, I need to describe what it is and what it's not. Okay, so pretty easy to say. All right, I'm saying what it is. Es ist ein Wohnzimmer. All right, you have to know the vocabulary then to get that. Okay, so we know it's a living room. Es ist ein Wohnzimmer. Well, here, das ist ein Wohnzimmer. Das ist auch ein Wohnzimmer. We got a few living rooms here. So how do I narrow that down? All right. And it might help you to get 4 pictures and then kind of in your description work toward one, narrow things out. This is kein Badezimmer, this is kein Esszimmer. Okay. And then I was thinking, but you know what? I can see the dining room. Okay. And maybe that's important is I can see the dining room from the living room. So I thought I'm going to say that. It's using a verb. Ich sehe. Okay. Ich sehe das Esszimmer auf einer Seite. Ooh, I see the dining room on one side. There it is over there. Anytime you're using directions or instructions or like locating things, you're using the dative. So cross that off the list. Remember we said 5 dative things. No, it was 5 nicht and 3 dative sentences. I can't remember. All right. Okay, I'm going to ask you in class. All right, River Bend. We worked this out. All right. So there's one of those. Okay, on one side. All right, now it's open. And I thought this through in English. I did. Okay, it's open. Okay, and what do I want to describe? Well, some of the furniture, probably the sofa, and I actually identified these here. I want to the sofa Tisch. Okay, the Schrank. We got 2 Schränke, and then die Lampe. All right, Krimskrams, right? All that. Sorry, all that stuff, and then the walls and the floor. All right, I don't think I described the floor. Ultimately, that one didn't seem to make sense. It didn't fit in, but there was another thing that came out when I was writing my description that I could describe. And I think it was, you know what it was? It was room. It has a lot of space in that room. So I was like, when I say the room has a lot of space, okay, it's a thing, right? You don't think of it as a thing, but that is a thing that the room has, space. Okay. So back to my thing. All right. Das Zimmer hat ein Sofa. Yep, so it has a sofa, and then I describe where it is. Okay, that's a really good way to eliminate possibilities and use the dative, right? And then I'm going to say what I'm going to do on this sofa. I'm going to read, ich lese auf dem Sofa because it is bright. Okay, so now that eliminates like darker rooms or rooms where, there's not much light. Okay. All right, das Zimmer hat eine Lampe. Now we're going to talk about the Lampe because I'm just kind of moving away from right to left. All right, there it is, die Lampe. Die Lampe hängt von der Decke. It hangs from the ceiling, okay? It has a Lampenschirm. I was thinking about the lamp, and you know what's really important about that lamp? For this room, for Bauhaus, is that you can see through it. It's got a lamp shade, but the shade is like open, right? That's important. Why? Because Bauhaus rooms are supposed to be light and airy and simple. All right. So if it was a big solid shade in the middle of the room, it would mess up the room. You would immediately look at that thing. It would be the focal point, and it just wouldn't allow for, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, it would be too much. Okay. Sometimes you can't even think of the words in English, right? So that's another thing that this room has. It has a lampshade. All right, sie hat einen Lampenschirm. Wait, I spelled that wrong here. I corrected that. Oh, I know what I did. Restarted my computer and I hadn't saved that. Lampenschirm. There we go. Die Lampenschirm ist in der Mitte. Okay, it's in the middle. I'm describing where it is. But this is important, and I had to look this up. I want to say it's not the focal point. It's not like the main thing in the room. Okay, so I looked up focal point, and it's Blickpunkt. Blick is to look. Okay, Blickpunkt. So that would be on my vocabulary list. All right, and Lampenschirm is going to go on my vocabulary list. Decke is also going to go on their ceiling. All right, what else? So all these new words out on one side, auf einer Seite. I'll put that as a phrase on the vocabulary list. Der Lampenschirm ist durchsichtig. There's a word that I thought it's see-through. You can see through it. Well, that means see-through right there. Look that up. All right. And I'll tell you what, I was thinking about it. It's a bright room. The lampshade is see-through, but we've got lots of light pouring in from these windows. I don't need to turn the light on. So I'm going to say I'm going to use nicht. and say, ich mache das Licht nicht an. So I don't have to turn the light on. It's bright enough. All right. Then I thought, okay, next thing, I'm going to describe this Sofatisch. Es ist modern und eckig. Looked at that, so angular. Hat zwei Teile. Okay, it's important lots of living rooms have coffee tables, right? This one does not. Anyway, this one does. All right, this one has a coffee table. So what makes Bauhaus coffee tables so different? It's because they got this nesting feature, right? Or at least that's common. Where am I? Okay, so, and I've looked and looked and looked and looked and looked to describe nesting, and they don't use nesting. I can't really figure out what they use to describe those tables. They just keep saying it is a end table or a coffee table. They don't say, anyway, so I need to figure out how to say that. So I said, hat zwei Teile. It has two parts. Okay. And ein Teil steht unter dem anderen Teil. Now we're going to have directions. One part stands under the other one. There. I did it. I described that. As a consequence of having nesting tables, the room has a lot of room. Das Zimmer hat viel Platz. The room is a lot of room. Okay, Platz is going to go on my vocabulary list. Teil is going to go on my vocabulary list. All right. And now a little bit more to get more kind of locations in there and more dative case and help really identify this room is der Sofatisch steht auf einem Teppich. Teppich is rug. Okay, it's standing on a rug. Now, so that helps narrow it down even more because none of these other ones have. And maybe people who are listening have already figured it out, but maybe they don't quite understand their language or didn't catch it. So you're going to keep going and give them all of your clues and see how many people get it. All right, so Teppich. So we got the Schränke. Das Zimmer hat zwei Schränke. Okay, these are important because they make it look nice and clean. And this room had zwei Schränke. Okay, this room has two cabinets. Big difference there, though. Okay, so what did I say? Die Schränke sind an der Wand. Where are they? Against the wall. Okay, and there are two. Ein Schrank ist niedrig, low, und breit, really wide, right? Und der andere Schrank ist größer und nicht sehr breit. Breit's going to go on my vocabulary list. Niedrig is also. All right, it's low and wide. The other one is larger and not as wide. All right, and then something about what I do with them. Okay, ich habe meine Sachen in den Schränken. I have my things in those cabinets. Sachen means things. Okay, Ding means things too. Sache and Ding, they're just two ways of describing your things. Yeah, okay. And then also I want to say one more thing the room has, krimskrams. I want to say that, not everything is in those cabinets. There's some stuff, okay? And because that stuff is sitting out, the room it doesn't look empty. If it didn't have those things sitting around there, it would look uninhabited, right? And I thought about that, and so I looked up the word, and sure enough, there it is. Unbewohnt, uninhabited, leer, empty. So I'll add those to my vocabulary list. Okay, and it's not that way. So, and let's say where the Krimskrams is, right? Sitzt auf den Schränken und auf dem Sofatisch. So we got some more data. All right, und, okay, now I went through all of my 8 things. They seem to make sense. Das ist mein Wohnzimmer. So that is that would be how I would present this room. And hopefully people would say, I think you're describing room A, right? Zimmer A. Das ist Zimmer A. Okay. Now, as you watch this video, you've seen me make hand signs, like move my hands and describe and even use some visuals on the screen. You're not going to be able to do this, but you can certainly draw. So you're not going to have this picture is going to be on the screen, but you can't, I don't give it away. Please don't give it away. Use the language to help people figure out what room it is. But you can also use gestures. You can draw a little bit. So I'm going to show you my next one. All right. One more example, an instrument. And I'm not going to show you the text. All right, I'm just going to present this. And let's see if you can figure out. I think I already said it. But pretend you didn't hear that. Okay. So, ich spiele ein Instrument, ein Musikinstrument. Welches Instrument spiele ich? So, mein Instrument ist kein Blasinstrument, Holzblasinstrument. Es ist kein Holzblasinstrument wie eine Klarinette. Eine Klarinette ist ein Holzblasinstrument. Sie ist aus Holz. Holz. Was habe ich? Holz. Okay, this is where I would knock on a desk and say Holz. Okay, and you would maybe understand Holz is wood. Right? Dieses Instrument ist nicht aus Holz. Klar? And guys, look around and make sure people are understanding you. All right. Eine Klarinette ist aus Holz. Mein Instrument ist nicht aus Holz. Mein Instrument ist kein Saiteninstrument. Eine Saite. Was ist eine Saite? Wie ein Cello, eine Violine. Ja, sie sind Saiteninstrument. And here I would have to show you Saite is string. Okay. All right, so mein Instrument ist kein Saiteninstrument. Ja, klar. Mein Instrument ist ein Blechinstrument. Blech. Blech ist ein Metall. Ja. Metall. Das ist Metall. Mein Instrument ist ein Blechinstrument. Blech ist ein Metall. Blech ist goldfarbig. Ja, Blech ist goldfarbig. So. Mein Instrument ist sehr groß. Ich halte das Instrument in meinen Armen. Ich halte das Instrument in meinen Armen. Arm, ich halte das Instrument. Ja? Das Instrument ist schwer. Oh, okay, das ist schwer. Klar? All right. Das Instrument hat ein Mundstück. Ein Mundstück. Ja? Das Mundstück gehört an meinem Mund. Ja? Okay. Gehört means belongs. Okay. And that would be a vocabulary word I'd want to probably show you at the beginning. It belongs. It's also a good vocabulary word for you to use because you can get a dative word in there if you can say where it belongs. Okay, not that you put it there. You don't want to say I put the thing wherever it is. You want to say it belongs there. I'll explain that later, but gehören is a good word. All right. Gehören. Okay? You can pause that if you need to. All right, ich mache weiter. Okay, so das Instrument hat 3 oder 4 Ventile und 3 oder 4 Drücker. Okay. Meine Finger gehören auf den Drücker. Ja. I think you probably got that, right? Ich drücke die Drücke und blase. Blasen. Ich blase. Ja. Das Instrument hat einen lauten, tiefen Klang. Laut, ja, tief. Ja. Der Klang ist laut und tief. Ja. Der Klang ist nicht leise. Es ist nicht leise. Der Klang ist nicht hoch. Es ist tief. Nicht hoch. Okay? Klar? Alright. Der Klang. Alright. Do you have an idea what Klang means? Okay, I think, hopefully you can guess roughly what that is. You can choose whether or not you want to provide that word for your listeners. I think maybe you can guess. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Das Instrument hat einen Schallbecher. 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 Ja? Schallbecher. Das Instrument hat einen Schallbecher. Mhm. Der Schallbecher ist groß und glänzend. Glänzend. Was ist glänzend? I think maybe I should give you that word at the beginning. I could try to show you glänzend. I'd have to have a prop. Glänzend. Glänzend means shiny. Okay. So, der Schallbecher ist glänzend. Okay. Ja. Der Schallbecher hat einen Schallbecherrand. Schallbecherrand. Moment. Hier ist das Schallbecher. Und das ist der Schallbecherrand. Schallbecherrand. Ja, okay. Der Schallbecherrand hat manchmal Kratzer und Beulen. Das ist eine Beule. Oh, okay. Der Schallbecherrand hat Kratzen und Beulen. Boing, okay. Beule, eine Beule. Der Musiklehrer ist böse, right? Ja, er ist böse auf mich. Das Blech, right? Das Metall, das Blech ist weich. Weich. Es ist nicht hart, es ist weich. Okay. Weich means soft, right? Soft, like it bends easily. Right, so, ich schütze den Schallbecherrand. Ich schütze mein Schallbecherrand. That's a word I should give you, right? Schützen means to protect. Ich schütze den Schallbecherrand. Mein Instrument hat einen Koffer. Okay, Koffer, wo habe ich hier einen Koffer? Ja, Moment. Nein. So, mein Instrument hat einen Koffer. Mein Instrument hat einen Koffer. Der Koffer ist groß und sehr schwer. Ich trage den Koffer. Leider. Ja, ich trage den Koffer. Ich remember what tragen means. So, ja, und das ist mein Instrument. Welches Instrument ist das? that was it. That's the end of my presentation. Okay, you can see these go on for a while. And hopefully you can guess. I already said it wasn't this. Okay, it wasn't this. So you've got the choice between these two. And what's the giveaway there between those two? Yeah, ist das klar? All right, so that's how you would do this. And finding my 4 pictures really helped me figure out what words I needed to say that I maybe hadn't thought of already, and what words I didn't need to say. They weren't essential in kind of describing what it is. Okay. And that is the difference between just putting together sentences and actually communicating. To communicate about this assignment, you really need to have sentences that help people narrow down what you're describing. So there you are. I look forward to getting your vocabulary list, which you turn in right here. Okay. And your design ideas were up here, Projektideen. For now, if you have a script that you're working on, turn it in right here, Deutsches Design Final Product. And even though you're not done, turn it in right there if you want me to review it and kind of give you feedback. Because ultimately, the product is the presentation. So final product here is, I guess I should change the name. It's everything that will help help you select your language. Okay, and then it's up to you to practice, practice, practice. All right. So viel Spaß, have fun with it, and mach's gut. Tschüss.